And we are all set and ready to go. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So when we last left off, we were working on our neural quantum processor factory, and I believe we had made pretty significant progress. So, let's head down here and see if I can trace the last couple of steps. So we have our radio control units there. So that's one thing that we haven't used quite yet. Then over here we've got something. What is this? Over here we've got some supercomputers, although not the largest bulk of them. And we also have something suspicious going on with the computers backing up. So this is running at 100%, but we don't want the computers to back up like that because it looks gross. So let's just mess with this a little bit. Yoink some of those out of there. And the batteries and everything else look like they haven't fully stacked up to quite the same degree, so that's fine. Here we have circuit boards, which are not going fast enough. And aluminum casings, for that matter. Something wrong here. No, that all looks fine, and there are internal buffers for them. So why is it like this? Okay, it might just be that the internal buffers aren't quite big enough. So let's see if I just decrease the supply of aluminum casings going here for a little bit. Then it's going to have to be by a lot, actually, in order to work out. So this just makes sure that there's enough destinations for them all to show up to. And let's do the same thing for the circuit boards. So we just pull a whole bunch of them off of this belt here, and then hopefully that'll give them some time to move forwards and not be limited. Who knows, though. I'm going to probably do some more tidying up like this once it's officially done. So, I believe the next thing we need are cooling systems in terms of actually producing things. So that's heat exchangers, heat sinks, motors, and nitrogen gas. Okay, so the heat sinks, we have two sources, and I don't know where either of them are, so we're gonna have to track those down. Let's see here. One of them is aluminum casings and rubber, and the other one is all-clad sheets and copper. So that should give us at least something of an idea of where to look. So the aluminum stuff is here, for example. And that is making pipes. That's not what we want. That's making wire. Let's see. That's where... Oh wait, no, this isn't the aluminum. This is iron, isn't it? They look basically the same from a distance. Okay, well here are the motors. So that's something that we need, and this is the entire motor supply, right? Yes. Okay, so let's get a floor hole onto you and get you going down a level. And this should be center any, so that's all correct. Now we just have to guide this floor hole through everything. So this goes down to that layer. and through that. Alright. So that's down one level. Next level is just down to wherever we need it to be here, which I guess we'll bring it all the way down to the ground level of this, just for now. Not like that, though. It might not have to go all the way down to ground level, because this is going to be a multi-level construction, so it might be on, like, the top floor or something. But who knows? Deal with that later. So we have motors, check. Now back to hunting for heat sinks. And again, they're going to be somewhere around the aluminum, the general vicinity of the aluminum, which I don't know where that is. I think it's probably up on this layer. Okay, no, this is the top layer. This is too high up. But no, this is actually the correct layer for finding the aluminum production, at least. So we've got all clad sheets here and casings here. So I believe this is probably our aluminum casings. Yes. So this, wherever it winds up heading to, should be one set of heat exchangers. And we follow this over to here. Yeah, here we are. Okay. So let's bring that down to the new low floor. And it can go not a foundation like that. It can go somewhere down into this floor and just go through. How many heat sinks is this? This is the smaller one, so it's only 14. So this can just go all the way down on a Mark 1 belt with no problem. Okay, there we go. So we've got, looks like that one over here, this one over here. And we need to set up the splitter for this one, apparently. So you go left, any center overflow, and that should be good for that. And now the other heat sinks are made with all-clad sheets, which are up here over this way and down this way. So probably this row of assemblers. It's gotta be. So we head over here, and yep, whole bunch of heat sinks. Okay, so we just have to bring this down through a floor hole. And we put that right there. And you actually need to be Mark 3 because you're 127 per minute. So left any, center overflow, and just like that, we now bring this down the rest of the way. There we go, through that, and we are way off the side here. So let's start getting this floor built over to where we need to be. And we're also in an area which is pretty far from power, so we got to be a bit careful of that, although it seems like we should be fine over here because we're directly under machines. Okay, so now we just build this over that way, and we should be good to go. So this just comes all the way down to here. And that is that. Now let's start bringing this one closer, because this one is definitely going to have to move in this direction. I don't know where exactly to build the rest of it just yet, but I do know that this one needs to go over here. So we can get started building that immediately so I don't have to fly all the way out here to that random corner of the factory again. Alright, so at this point, I'll say we're probably close enough. So now we just need to grab our nitrogen, which is going to be 2 full pipes worth, which is not going to be trivial. So let's see here. Plastic, aluminum, trigons, nitrogen. So it's here. It's already going down a level. And it's got this whole buffer system, which should be good. Okay, so we just need to bring both halves of this pipe down in a relatively convenient way. So let's move you over to this way and then get a couple of floor holes in. So there you go. Now we just need to keep dropping this down a bunch of floors until we get where we need to be. Okay, so we have these 2 here, and we don't want them to pass like directly through a random unrelated production line if we can help it. So they are going to go back this way. So they pop down like that and like that. And now this is the floor we're looking for. So we bring him down to here, and we bring him down to there. Don't want them to clip or anything. Alright, so nitrogen gas is here, and the nitrogen gas is one of the things which we might be short on, because I do not know for a fact that the trains have been running and providing enough. So this might be something that we need to fix. The rest of the inputs should be clear because they've been running for ages individually. Okay. So now we need a row of 14 blenders. And first let's figure out. So we've got motors there, heat sinks there, heat sinks back there, nitrogen over there. So I think back in this area will be our best bet. Like, just you go into blueprint mode, and if we can just expand out this way with the blenders, that should be fine. And we need to get some of them built in so we don't run out of power like that. So let's see here. Blender, blender, blender. So this is a blender blueprint, which has all the inputs that we would need. I think it has 1 extra fluid input, but that's fine. So we get 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so we need a whole bunch more, which means that these are actually going to have to move, which is fine, because I just built them 5 minutes ago and they don't need anything. So this is 8 blenders. So we just need 10, 12, 14. So that should be enough space, and then we get this in here. So that's number 12, and this is 14. Alright, so that is all in. Then we just need to get these powered up, get the recipes in, and then start worrying about all the rest of the stuff that we need. So we need to get these connected up to each other and then connected up to this. Probably is going to be the most convenient one. There we go. So now all those are powered. And these need to be set to cooling device alternate. Currently they're set to cooling system. So cooling device alternate, and this is 71. Oh, did I do the math wrong? Yeah, we actually need 16 of these. Whoops. I don't know why I saw 14.2 and I just read that as 14, but I forgot that you always have to round up whenever you're doing anything with this. So let's see here. Is there actually... Are we really gonna just like precisely run out of space with that quartz belt? That's annoying. Okay. Does it clip at all? Well, currently it clips with the ground. Oh, I see. That blueprint was... The blueprint was the one that was wrong. So the blueprint goes into there. And then we get our blenders in. And it just barely actually manages to dodge the quartz belt. So we take those. That gets built in. And we copy paste that across. So this is now cooling device 71.11 divided by 16 is 4.4. So now we paste that all the way across, and then we can start getting the stuff built in. So let's see here. For the nitrogen, we have 2 input pipes. I wonder if we just set the 2 nitrogen pipes into these 2 input pipes. I wonder if it'll work, because they're both going to be feeding from the same side, which is wrong, but they are only going to need to feed less than 600 each, right? So it should work out okay. And actually they start from the center, which is probably better even. Alright, so let's get these built in first, because fluids you want to give some time to build up. So that connects into there. That one connects into there. And if all works properly, that should be nitrogen supplied to all of these machines. And it'll take quite a while for it to all build up, but it should get there eventually. We need 853-ish nitrogen gas. We have 2 Mark II pipes feeding it, so that should be enough, unless they do weird things with, like, I don't know, some weird sloshing stuff with the different inputs. Hopefully that doesn't happen, though. Okay, next up we have our solid inputs. So one of them goes in this side, the other goes in the other. Does it matter? Actually, neither of these are super fast. The heat sinks are Mark IIIs and the motors are Mark I. Is that right? Yeah, that makes sense. So the heat sinks are Mark IIIs, the motors are Mark I. And the heat sinks are all the way over there and all the way over there, and the motors are right here. So let's have the motor make the quicker trip into this row that's immediately here, and then the heat sinks can go around a little bit. And we are going to be feeding this from one side again, just because that seems like a reasonable thing to do when the input is all the way over here. So let's see if I can actually just do this all in one. So this is 2, 4, 8, 16. And I believe that is all that we need for this. So now we connect that up. This one just simply goes out to there. These two are gonna go further. Is that going crooked? Yeah, that's crooked. Let's have it be nice and perfectly straight, shall we? So that goes out this way. Yeah, these are slightly off-centered from the foundations, which I don't know how that happened here. Oh, I guess it's just because of that tiny gap there, maybe? Who knows? Okay, so this one is going to be heading off to this input here, where it goes into there, and then this one goes to there and to there. Then this one continues along and goes into an input here, which has 2 of those, I think. So then that goes in. This one goes across to both of those. This one goes across to that one and over this way. And then this gets its own splitter for that to go across and in like that. Alright, I think this is correct. It's certainly a lot more efficient in terms of speed, but it also makes my brain hurt and definitely introduces the possibility that I made a mistake building that. So hopefully we got it right, but if not, then that's tough. Alright, so this needs to go up over those 2 belts and then pop back down. And then it needs to go into that. Alright, motors attached. Next up, we have this splitter over here, which, let's see here. The starting rows are very slow, but they will eventually build up to 130 something. Which means that right near the end of this line, we're going to have to think about our belt speeds to make sure that we're not accidentally using Mark 1s when we need to be using faster ones. Okay, so this is the more intuitive way of building these large splitter arrays, which is just doing it 1 row at a time. Just a 1 to 2 splitter, then another row of 1 to 2 splitters, and then another row of 1 to 2 splitters. Now this is certainly going to be slower than the other way, but it will also certainly not make a mistake, which is important. Alright, so we do that, and then this one comes back to here, and then we get that splitter in to feed it. There we go. And then this one actually, okay, we're sort of doing a hybrid approach here. This one comes back to here. This one comes out to there. And then both of these belts come forwards to eventually get splitters. Alright, then we pop that splitter in. It connects across, and it doesn't quite line up perfectly. Whoops. Alright, then that goes across. And if I remember, so 130 means each of these belts here are going to be like 70-ish. So those need to be Mark 2s. and you have to run this all the way down to there, and that goes into the splitter where it's now fine. Alright, so we've done all that. Now we just need to get the heat sinks merged up with each other and then sent into that row. So the heatsink source is all the way down here. This is 14 of them. A much smaller batch. And it's going to have to go over some of this stuff. And then it can drop down immediately for at least a little bit. So then we just sort of curve this way, go around to there, and now this provides just a nice excuse to go just like up to there, and then up and over, and just keep this in line. So now this is not just a random scuffed setup, it's actually organized with multiple branches curving over. Okay, no, we don't want that. We want it to drop. I forgot to have it drop back down again immediately. So now we have that, and this goes forwards, and now we have this belt here. Okay, and I guess we can just merge them up directly before they go in. I guess that won't hurt. You could also merge them up like out here somewhere. Either one works just fine. You pop in that way. And then this one comes over here. And it doesn't curve off in some weird angle. Please don't do that. And then you just go into that. Okay, so that has heat sinks showing up. These heat sinks, obviously a whole lot slower, but they're making their way over as well. Now, if we check into here, the nitrogen is filled in entirely. The heat sinks are what we're waiting on. We have motors. Alright, so the heat sinks are on their way. And they seem to be buffering a bit, but that makes sense because this is 270 right now, which it doesn't need to be. Oh, and also because that needs to be connected across. That's important. Okay, so let's just do a quick rundown, see if I made any other mistakes like that here. Are these two connected? Yes, they are. All the rest of this stuff looks good, so we should be fine on our cooling devices. And I see one green light so far. I'm sure the other ones will get there eventually. There we go. That's activated. And it won't be quite full speed continually until this belt gets here, but there's enough of a buffer here that it should work out to start with. So yeah, now that buffer is mostly through, and these ones are showing up. Okay, so how many heat sinks is this? So, right, no, this is 71.11 cooling systems total, which means we need to head all the way down here to the end, and let's start upgrading these belts actually. Again, we technically don't need to do this down at this row because it's going to be nowhere near 60 down here, but I like having my output manifolds all be the same speed, just so that there aren't things like weirdly speeding up rapidly for no apparent reason. Alright, so this just goes through. And there we are. So now we're down at the end. We need to get a sink. So this just goes out, gets plenty of space, and like that. Now we pop in the sink, give it space for the splitter, and that's that. So you just connect across and pop into a power pole. Alright, that is cooling devices done. The heat sinks haven't quite made it all the way down yet, although they will like any second now. And I believe this will be the last one to get them. So yeah, those heat sinks are headed up. All of them have some heat sinks. This one is starting. This one is just about to start. There we go. That hits 100%. And we're all good. Okay. So, we have this built. Heat sinks. Cooling systems, check. We have radio control units over there somewhere. So now we just need 12 assemblers for OC supercomputers. Now, I believe that giant row back there... No, that's the crystal oscillators, probably. So where are the radio control units? Is it that row of manufacturers back there? I bet it is. So we're just going to confirm that everything is where we think it is. So, this row of manufacturers, yes. So we have radio control units here, and we have our cooling systems there, which means that the most reasonable spot for this line of assemblers for the OC supercomputers would be like in this vicinity. So let's fill in some foundation for that, and this is just assemblers, and it's just 12 of them, so we shouldn't need too many. So let's get this in, nudge you over a little bit to line up properly. 3, 6, 9, and one more batch, 12. Okay, so that is all good. Man, we're gonna finish this thing with a ton of time to spare, probably, unless the nitrogen goes wrong, which it might. There's no way of knowing. Alright, so these assemblers, we need to give you OC supercomputer alt. And we're making 35.555 divided by 12. Which is very, very nearly 100% of their production. But not quite. So we get all these settings pasted across. And now we just need to get from here into here. So the cooling systems unfortunately face all the way back that way, so they're gonna have to loop all the way around, which I guess we're just gonna have to do. So let's build another level of foundations here for those to travel across. Alright, so this just goes down a little bit more. There we go. Now we have that. We take this belt, loop it back around, and we say right any center overflow. And now we just bring this belt back. Oh wait, this needs to be a Mark II belt. This needs to be a Mark II belt. Let's get that fixed. There we go. So now this just runs down this way. And it'll eventually get into our new factory line over here. So this just keeps going. And back to there. Alright, so let's finish off those foundations. And now we need to actually build the 1-to-4 splitter. So we get 2 of you in there. You connect up. You go back to there. This one goes forwards to connect into these two. And then it pops into there, and into there, and into there. Alright, now all we need to do is get this attached in. So we just go... Straight mode is not feeling it today, so we're just going to have you go around like that. And that's a Mark II going in, and 2 Mark Is going out, which is perfectly good. So those are set up. Now we need to bring our radio control units, which are literally right here. So they need to go down to this floor, which means we have all of this stuff. Just got to build a couple of 1-to-2 splitters. And then another one to feed into those. So those are all filled up. Now we hop back up here. And this gets left any center overflow on the smart splitter to go down. And it can just go down directly past... Oh, I definitely clicked the wrong button there. I'm going to have to go back up and re-upgrade that. And then this just pops into there. And that should be the last chunk of supercomputers done. Hopefully. So we're gonna wait. The cooling systems have started to show up. The radio control units don't really have that far to go, so they are all here now. And this is 35.5 supercomputers, so no need for any faster belts. We just need space for our sink. Alright, so this goes in like that. And the sink gets powered. Let's not forget that. Alright, the first one is turned green. These go every 20.3 seconds apparently. So that's something. Alright, so this is now going, and we should see supercomputers on the belts. Hopefully those... Yep, there's one right now. So that is now going. Alright. So, we have this. We have all of our supercomputers. Now, the only thing left is just dealing with some, like, random extra stuff. So let's bring this last bit down one more floor, just for organization purposes, because this is the final step, the final couple steps, I guess, of the entire factory. So we go down 10, and we start putting in some foundation. And then we can get some of these blueprints in. And this will be a start. Okay, so that will be a start for the floor. So what do we need down here? We need our supercomputers, time crystals, and fixite trigons. I think that's everything. Okay, so first off, supercomputers. Let's bring those down. So we get this set up right any center overflow so that we have them starting to move down, and then we need to send you through this floor. Which, how does that line up? Lines up to there, and it goes through. Alright, so that is supercomputer source 1. Now this needs to get another row of these blueprints in, and they need to line up properly, which currently they're sort of refusing to do. Alright, so that's lined up on one axis, then we just have to push you back. Be like that. There we go. Alright, so now we just have to not use some random blueprint that I don't know what it is. We just need to bring this down to there. So that is one set of supercomputers. Then we need to go and find the other set of supercomputers, which... where are they? Could be this. Yeah, it looks like this. Now, I forgot to put a smart splitter on, because of course I did. So you get a smart splitter. That goes through. Right any center overflow. I really should try to get in the habit of building my sinks in a different way so that I only have to change one setting so that the sink output is like an overflow off to the side and the main output is forwards through the center. That would save a lot of just like random clicking. Alright, then we bring these foundations over so that this other supply of supercomputers can go down. Alright, that is 2 supplies of supercomputers. Now, we just need to deal with the fixite trigons and the time crystals. Now, I think the time crystals might be brought in via drone. I'm not sure. I know the trigons are showing up in a train. So here are the trigons. Now, are any of these guys time crystals? Rubber, quartz. Yeah, okay, so none of these guys are time crystals, which means we need a drone port for them. And let's set that up now. So we just go over to here. And we even have this drone port already here to provide the fuel, so that should help. So we get that, and let's go with 2 of them just in case. Actually, how much is this sulfur doing? The sulfur is doing 180 items a minute. Yeah, so I think having 2 of these should be fine, just to make sure nothing weird happens. So now we just need this to get split off like that. And then it needs to split again. Actually, we need to actually leave some room. So we need these outputs to be able to do stuff. And wait, no, that's not the fuel input. That's the other stuff input. That's definitely not what we want. That would cause all sorts of problems. So you go into there and into there. So this is NQP time crystals. And you are going to go to time crystals source, and you are NQP time crystals 2, and you are also going to time crystal source. There we go. Now these guys both need to be powered, so let's upgrade that power pole, get all that in. Okay, so now all we need to do is pop some drones onto those so that they can head out and do their thing. And then we're going to need to actually retrieve the time crystals from them once they show up. So each of these needs to be able to carry the entire supply, which is 200 a minute. So let's give them Mark III belts. And those go down to here, which doesn't leave much room, but should leave like barely enough. So these are gonna have to be I clicked the stupid through the floor hole again. Did not mean to do that. Okay, so these just need to come down to like approximately ground level. And yeah, so it's not perfect, but it's like close enough. And then you curve around and just be normal from there. Then you are also going to come down and you get the benefit of just being normal to begin with. Okay, let's make sure that this didn't get downgraded. There we go. Okay, so now we just need to merge these two up like that and like that. Okay, so they're merged up now, and all we need to do is get a balancer for 200 items per minute, which should be pretty easy, right? We just have... Okay, so first we have a priority merger just for whatever we need to be looping back. Then we need you to split off 120. So that's a Mark II belt with left any center overflow. So you split off 120. 40 of that 120 loops back. The rest will be looping forwards like this. So that's 80. And then this will be another 120, which means our final result at the end of this merger is 200. And then that can just start dropping down. Like so. Okay, so this needs to get through all of these layers. So I think we're going to start by going down to this layer here, and then sort of adjusting a little bit to get out of the way of some things. So you go down to there, and then you can run over this way a little bit. And yeah, so out here there should be plenty of clearance for you to continue moving. And that connects across. So now we bring this down another layer. So you go down through there. And then we need to go down another layer. Got a whole bunch of descending to do with these time crystals. So this goes down to here. And we grab the belt, bring it down. And now we're down at our final floor, where we can do this, and there you are. So we have supercomputers there and there. We have time crystals here once those drones make their round trip, which could be quite a while. And then we just need to grab the trigons and bring them all the way down from the trains. Okay, so the trigons should actually be somewhere on this layer. Presumably in a box that isn't otherwise being used. Yes, like this one. So, we've got all these guys. They are going to be going at 600 a minute, which means mark 5 belts. And straight down we go. Alright, so this is gonna cause some problems. So we just need you to sort of creep a little bit over this way and make sure that those are all Mark 5s. Okay, now that you're over here, you should be able to drop down and go through a floor hole there. Alright, so that is that. And then you just keep on descending so that your next destination is right through there. And we just keep on going. We are getting time crystal. We are getting fixite trigons on these, so that is correct. This goes down, and this belt is going to need to. It's going to be easiest to just move that a little bit. So you go around like there, and then around to there, and that should get you out of the way. And I said all of those is Mark III belts, right? Yes, I did, so no trouble with that. So then this can drop straight through. And down to there. And of course, all the rest of the floor is all the way over there. So we're going to need to build it out over to here, which is pretty easy to do. And we bring our trigons down. Okay. That should be that. Now, we just need to make some photonic matter, 1,000 of it, which is quite a bit, and then make our neural quantum processors in quantum encoders. And then crystallize the dark matter and send it off somewhere to be used, either to be sunk and then potentially used later. But for now, this is what we have. Now I wonder how our time crystal supply is going, because it shouldn't be that long, right? It should be relatively quick. So let's fly up to the top, see if we can see any drones here. Okay, so nothing here yet. Although actually we do have time crystals in the machines. So yeah, okay, so they showed up, delivered some stuff, and then immediately turned around and left. That's fine by me. Now, yeah, so this is the problem here. That needs to be connected. And that's Mark III. All of these guys are connected up properly. This has its priority set. Alright, so time crystals are good. Yeah, we have everything we need, except, I guess, technically the photonic matter, which you just make on site as needed. Okay, so let's make the photonic matter. So, do I have a actually, we don't need a converter blueprint for this because it's literally just output only. So it'll just be easier to just place these in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Missing radio control units. Wonderful. 5. Alright, now, because that could be a thing, quantum encoder requires cooling systems. So let's grab some of those. It requires turbo motors, supercomputers, time crystals, and trigons. Turbo motors, supercomputers, time crystals, and trigons. Okay, so with all of those buffers increased, we should be fine. So you all get set to excited photonic matter, and for once, we need exactly 5 of these, with no underclocking or anything needed. And we need to bring the power line down. Alright, so power line comes down. Let's send it back this way where it won't be in the way of anything. So now these guys can start making their photonic matter. There we go. Now we just combine them all up. Like this. Okay, now all of these guys get connected in to the junctions. And photonic matter, check. Now we have to make sure to take this out in 2 pipes. And we might even want to like split this up in some clever way so that the pipes don't overlap any like they do, but it shouldn't be an issue. So now we just need quantum encoders. Do I have blueprints for that? No, I have no blueprints for encoders. Do I just have blueprints for like some recipe which goes in an encoder? What recipes even go in an encoder? I have no idea. Let's see here. Quantum encoder. What recipes would you have? Synthetic power shards is the answer. There's Fixonium and a whole bunch of stuff that I don't have yet. So, let's look. Yeah, don't have a blueprint for those. Which, oh, these are too big to fit in the blueprint machine, right? I think that's why. Let's pop you in there. Go quantum encoder. Yep, you are too long. So that's why. Which means we gotta do this manually, unfortunately. Okay, so we are going to have this row be out here, I think. And we have, what, 2 solid inputs and 1 fluid input. So we get to have our whole double layer thing. And that will be going out like that, and then this second layer is going to get its own rows of foundations. Oh, that's not lined up right at all. Okay, now it's lined up better. There we go. So these go across like that. And this needs to be multiple blocks wide because the encoders are too big for one tile, as we've already established. So then all of this stuff gets filled in, and this will at least be a start. We're probably gonna have to expand this even further. Alright, so for now, let's start with this, and we go. Push this over to the side, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's 7 of those, and I need to set you to take from depot first. So this is half of what we need. Yeah, this last step is going to be a little bit time consuming just because of having to do it all manually. And also because it takes up a huge amount of space and we need like infinite concrete to build this. That's gonna kind of suck. Okay, well, let's start working on the power poles while we wait for concrete then. So we get power pole, you're gonna connect in, and we could actually just overclock these. Yeah, let's just overclock the ones that we have here because I have to do the construction entirely manually. Just having fewer of them to deal with should be fine. Now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 14, so that's plenty. Let's add one more. One more just so that it can be a nice round number 8 instead of the much more cursed number 7. Alright. So now we've got 8 of these. You are all connected into each other. And now we just run your power line up there. Okay. So now these need the recipes. So, neural quantum processors. And give you, I think 2 of those are necessary. So then the output we need is 40 divided by 8, which should be 5. Yes, it is. So now we paste these settings across. All the lights turn yellow as we do. Alright, so we've got all these guys in. Now, we need to get the 2 solid inputs and the fluid input ready to go. So one of the solid inputs is going to be going down a level, and the other is going to be staying up on this level. Then I think the fluid input will also be staying up on this level. Although we could actually just do it so both solid inputs go down a level, and then the fluid input is the one which stays up here, and that would keep everything nice and organized. Yeah, let's do it that way. Alright, so all of these get floor holes. And now we get to do the part of building which I normally blueprint away, which is connecting all these guys up. Now, we don't need super high quantities of anything. Wait, there are 3? Oh, right. I forgot about the supercomputers. So we need kind of high quantities of trigons. Everything else, obviously, not so much. So let's have... Yeah, then we are going to need to have 2 things up on this level, the fluid input and the 3rd solid input. So this all still works out. We're going to have the trigons be the top row, I think. So all the rest of these get Mark 1 lifts feeding into them. And that will be in place. Why did that do something weird? Then these will be in place when we go down to the lower floor to get them fixed up. So all of this is through. Okay, next is the Fixite Trigons splitter up on this level. So we get some of you, and that is 75 to each of those 2. And just keep this normal like it is. We want all these to be lined up. And we also, where are the trigons? The trigons are right over there, so let's have this merge in towards the center, which means that you go like that. Make sure to have Mark II belts everywhere. And then you go in like that. Alright, so then these next ones are going to be carrying 150 each. I don't know why I wanted to set those to be smart splitters. So 150 each means Mark III belts. So we get some of those. And then we get some of these. And then we have our last row of splitters here, which is going to be 300 each, which means Mark IVs to there and to there. And then we just need our Fixite Trigons to come over here. So let's bring that floor there. And then this can only go down to this level. And then pop in to that. Alright, Trigons, check. Nice and easy. Although that does not look like 600, so we've messed up a belt somewhere in here. Okay, and it looks like this one. Alright, so you need to be Mark V. Now we're cooking. Alright, that looks a lot more correct. Alright, Trigons, check. Next up, while we're up on this level, let's get our pipeline. So the pipeline goes up to here, and we just sort of run it across as far as it'll go. And then out to there. Now we put the junctions on. and connect everything in. So this is going to need to be fed from both sides. So that's all in. We need this pipe to double back and head over this way because it needs to be fueled up. So let's try to build that while we go through placing all the individual machine connections, so we just don't have to go back and forth quite so much. There we go. And that goes forth a little more. This connects in. This goes forwards a little more. That last bit wasn't completely straight. You curved out for no reason. So we were going to dismantle that, build it again. Alright, so now we just need these two pipes to go into floor holes here. So we go there and there. You go down, you go over a little bit, and then down. And now if we just connect these two pipes up to the two edges of that photonic matter production line, then we'll be good to go. So you come out of there, you come out of there, and both of you continue forwards. Okay, so then you attach into that. You are going to curve a little bit more, head across this way and attach into that. And that should be all we need for that. So it will flow across and fill all these guys up from both sides. And it's already starting up. Okay. Excited photonic matter. The first machine now has enough of that. So, finally we drop down to the bottom floor to get these two. The time crystals and supercomputers. So, let's get all these lifts built in, and we're going to do one row at a time so we don't have to constantly fiddle with rotating the lifts. Just have them rotated once and then go across. Alright, so that is one of them, and then we get the other one. And this first row can all be Mark 1s, I believe. I should confirm that, I guess. But I'm pretty confident that I've checked that already. No, you need to go all the way down to the ground. Like so, and like that. Okay, let's just confirm. So yeah, the trigons are 75. Time crystals are only 25, supercomputers are only 5. Okay, so let's see here. The supercomputers are there. Time crystals are here. More supercomputers are over there. So let's have this side be the time crystals because the supercomputers are going to have to cross over either way. So this first row here is 25 each. And then the next row will be 50 each. So the next row won't need Mark 1 belts either. The one after that one will, though. Right, so this just gets built across. Okay, row 1 finished. So each of these belts are 25 each. Now we get row 2 in, which is going to be carrying belts with 50 each. So still within Mark 1 range. And we are just compressing these off to the side, because that's where the time crystals are. And then we get this one. So these belts are going to be 100 each. So we just have to make sure they're Mark 2s. And then we have our Mark 3 belt, which goes back this way and into that. Alright, time crystal supply attached. Now, last but certainly not least, is the thing that the entire rest of this factory has been building, which is the supercomputers. So those go up over all of this stuff, and then back down. And actually, the fact that, okay, none of the supercomputers are super fast. All the supercomputers are Mark 1 belts put together. There are a total of 40. So we do not need to worry anything about any of that. Let's take those walls down, just so that they're not in the way. And let's hop over here and grab this belt. Bring it forward a little bit, because it's going to have a long trip on slow belts. So might as well get started with some of that now. Now we put in our rows of splitters. So again, this is going to be leading things towards this side. So that is 2, 4, 8. And we're going to do things this way. So this one comes along here and goes into a splitter here. So then that goes into there. Then this one goes along to the next one. And this gets a splitter, which goes there and there. And then they get another splitter, which goes between that one and the next group. For now, that goes in. And then this belt follows the rest of the way across and goes into these and that. Alright, so that is all finished, unless I forgot some belts somewhere. So now we just merge up our supercomputers, which, let's do it back here because they're both kind of close to this area. There we go. And bang. Alright, so that is that. Once the supercomputers get through, we should have our neural quantum processors. And that should be basically everything. So now we just need to focus on the output side of things. We're going to be getting 1,000 dark matter residue in addition to our 40 neural quantum processors that this factory is designed for. So let's send the neural quantum processors out that way, maybe. So this just gets a nice block of mergers, which will combine them all together. And that one wasn't lined up properly. There we go. So all these mergers just go together, and then we have our neural quantum processors, which is quite straightforward. And then the dark matter we're going to have to do a little bit more work on. Okay, so then that goes into there, that goes forwards to there. And building these manifold type things is kind of just the same thing over and over again. There we go. That's all done. Now we get our sink and our smart splitter. So the smart splitter goes into there. The sink gets powered. Let's actually move the power pole over to this side of things, just in case we need it. Alright, the sink is powered. Some of these are running. You can see the fun little lights coming off of them. So that is neural quantum processors done. And now we get to do the fun part of dealing with an output resource, which is we need to get a drone port in here and also a dimensional depot. And then we need to figure out which one is the priority and which one isn't. So we get a storage container and a smart splitter there. So this is center overflow right any. And then this will be left any right overflow. And then we get a dimensional depot on top of that. And load her up. So this should fill our dimensional depot first, and then move on to filling up the drone network later once it's needed. Because we are eventually going to need this. And let's label you as neural quantum processor source. There we go. So now that will be a thing eventually. And now we have our neural quantum processors. Alright. So, that's going. And we are loading them up already. We already have 17 of the things. And now we have the dark matter residue problem. So obviously that has overflowed because we haven't built in our output pipe yet. So we just bring this in and run it along. And actually, because this is going to be 1,000 output, we're going to need 2 levels to it. So let's just get that built in first, and let's see if we can just build this entire thing all in one go without having to run back and forth across it a couple times. Okay, so that pipe goes out there, this pipe goes out there, then we get our junctions and our output pipes, and our junctions, and our output pipes, and a junction, and an output pipe. So these just continue along a little bit more. Off like that. And we get some of those guys in, and we get some pipes in. Then these just continue along to get this last one hooked up. Okay. So now we have all this. We need 5 particle accelerators. And we have a blueprint which deals with one particle accelerator. So let's get the space in for that. That's 1, 2, 3. Actually, can we... Yeah, we can like build this along this way and just have it not go quite as far. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so particle accelerator. This goes in here. And this blueprint was designed to encounter solid inputs, but not fluid inputs. Meaning it's mostly useless, but whatever. At least it's placing in the accelerators. I'm not super concerned about it. It's not going to be hard to design anyways, and it should get the outputs built, which is really the important part. At least it does something. And I think I'm not in auto-connect mode here. And we're also not within power charge range, so let's get back over here. Okay, power pole. Power pole, come over this way. And then up to here. So now we can get these guys connected up. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4, so we're missing 1. So, particle accelerator. There we go. So those are all in. Our quick wire supply, something's gone horribly wrong. But it should be fine. Okay, so then this power line comes over to there, plugs in, and that's that. So now we need to get our fluid pipe in, which is going to be a little bit tricky because of where I put those power poles, right where I would normally put a fluid pipe. So we're just going to have that be a little bit further back. And now I've just realized that that dark matter residue pipe over there definitely doesn't need to run all the way across, because we can just physically grab it from both sides and it'll work perfectly fine. So that goes a little bit forwards. That goes a little bit more. Alright, now we just get these guys connected down. So, all of these get their pipeline junctions, and then they all get their pipes feeding in, like that, and there we go. Now, we just need to take these pipes and connect them into either side. So that goes along like that. So this moves on over and it doesn't drop down that far. It really probably shouldn't be dropping down at all since it's immediately going to be going back up to the same level, although actually this isn't the same height. Weird. But whatever. It still works. So we just pop you into there. And then let's disconnect all of this pipe because it's not needed. Because this goes into there. Okay. So now we set these to dark matter crystallization, and again we need exactly 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so now we get the output belt set up. Why is my hotbar not working? Hello, hotkeys. There we go. I don't know why that sometimes decides to not cooperate. Alright, so we bring this belt and attach it all up. There we go. So all of these get connected. And then we run back, make sure I didn't miss any. So this should be 100 dark matter crystals each. So now we just sort of expand this area out a little bit as well. So we get a sink, which is going to be overflow. There we go, and just connect that up to a power pole somewhere, like that. Alright, so we have our overflow sink, and it sure is overflowing. Then we get a drone port for these dark matter crystals. And let's go here, drone port, boom, and you are just going to go directly in. We don't need dimensional storage for these, we already have that, right? Search in here. Yeah, we already have dark matter crystal dimensional storage, so we don't need more. You're left any center overflow, and you are NQP dark matter output, and you get powered up. And that is, I believe, the entire factory done. So we have this stuff getting rid of the dark matter residue, no problem. And these guys are making the neural quantum processors themselves. And they seem to be... Okay, they were at 50%. I think they're probably going up over time, because I don't see anything that we're short of. In fact, I see quite a couple of things which we've got way too many of. So, yes, step 1 is to make sure to limit some of these overflows. So we get all of these guys, all these random trigons out, so that we don't have massive extra buffers of them. Oh, and I just realized that we should... I think we didn't ever limit the trigon's speed, so they're coming in at 780 actually, as opposed to 600. Right, that's definitely happening. So let's make sure to fix that and just head up to do that near the trains section, just immediately after the buffer chest. So that should be like right over here. Yeah, these trigons here. Alright, so let's get a floor hole for quick access. And yeah, these need to do some adjusting in order to fit through anyways. So we can chop that out, and it should be easy, right? So 600 is 780 minus 180. So we are going to start with a priority merger, get this a little bit off to the side because quarters are a little cramped and we need to use all the space we've got. So this is 780. Then we get 2 smart splitters there and there. This goes straight through. Now, these 2 smart splitters are right any center overflow, both of them. And then this one is a Mark II belt, that's a Mark I belt, and then that does the loop back, and all good. Now this drops in, and that should be that. Now we just need to get down to the next floor and connect those across. We just have to get this into that, like so. Alright. Trigons now running at the proper rate of 600 a minute instead of 780. So that is that. Then the time crystals are also massively buffered here. So, step 1, we did limit the time crystals to their 200 a minute, right? I think I remember us doing that, but let's just fly up to confirm. So all the way up to here. And this is this setup. So we have 270 time crystals here. We go that. So this is a Mark II belt. 40, 40, and 40. So this is 80. And this is 120. That adds up to 200. Alright, yes. So now we should be able to tear the excess time crystals out, and it should all work out. So, excess time crystals, you go away, you go away, and just get this through for all of them. Okay, so this is all getting cleared out. Alright, now no excess time crystals, no excess trigons. There are excess supercomputers, which we should also be able to clear out. That's just simply from there being a bunch of them on the belt when we started. Alright, so we're going to clear all this stuff out, and then everything should be nice and functional. Okay. There we go. So now these should be running just like immediately as they receive things, which should help us see if there are any problems. Like, it's been a while since this one got a supercomputer, but now it has one, and we'll see if it has one in time for the next cycle. It should be precise. Instead, there is a meaningful gap. So it could be the supercomputers do sort of come in bursts like this. So it could just be a question of we're waiting for a burst like that to catch up, or it could be that there is something wrong with supercomputers. So let's investigate the supercomputer production then. Alright, so we go up here, and this is one set of it. And you are... Alright, yeah, you're showing 83% because of a lack of cooling systems, apparently. And let me guess, the cooling systems aren't getting enough nitrogen. That is indeed exactly what's happening. Okay. So, I guess just be optimistic and confirm that it isn't just some weird thing with the pipes. Because if it isn't some weird thing with the pipes, then we're going to have to mess around with the train system again. Alright, so here is the nitrogen. There is a train in this station currently. So how are these buffers doing? This buffer is entirely full. This buffer is entirely full. Alright, so it is potentially just some weird thing with the pipes. I don't know if that's better or worse. So these pipes are showing like 300 each. Why is that? I think the nitrogen train just left the station. Yes, it did. So let's quick check. Tons and tons of nitrogen available. Except for this one, which is weirdly more empty than the rest. I guess because it's just directly feeding into this. Okay, so I think the problem is indeed something to do with the pipes. So let's start by sorry about that. Start by popping some valves in just to make sure that everything flows in the direction it's supposed to flow, and this one isn't going to cooperate. We're going to have to potentially do some serious extra work with that. Alright, so now you're lined up, which means you can now fit a valve in. Okay. Drain rate is suddenly dramatically higher. Potentially. Alright, we might have just fixed it. Let's also just... No, that should be guaranteed by those, right? Yeah, let's just make sure that those are going the way they're meant to. And we might not want these connected, potentially. That connection might... This connection here might be the source of some weirdness, like if all of the nitrogen from here is going down this way and cutting off this... Yeah, actually, let's... Okay, we're going to start with just a simple valve, which will be set to 0. So now we've got two pipes. This buffer feeds one, this buffer feeds the other, and they are not connected past the input point. So hopefully that will also help balance things out. And the only way to tell is going to be to drop all the way back down through like 20 billion floors to get to where the nitrogen is actually used. Alright, so down here, cooling systems. These ones right here are obviously 100%. There's no reason to be suspicious of them. These ones out here, though, you are yellow. So you don't have any nitrogen to speak of at all. Neither do you, neither do you. And yeah, the closer we get into this area, the better it looks for them. And the flow rate through these pipes is seemingly terrible. Why are you only like 200 some? Okay, that's very mysterious. And the problem is, like, this whole manifold thing is basically designed to maximize sloshing. But there's really not that much to do about that. It is weird. Okay, wait, no, these ones over here have them. It's just like, how is it this one in the middle, which doesn't have it? Anything that goes to there has to pass by this one first. So that, I mean, makes no sense, basically. Although, I guess, wait. Yeah, no, these are also lower, but not quite as bad. Yeah, I don't understand that. It must be a sloshing thing. It must be a sloshing thing. So I wonder if I just, like, connect these two input pipes up on both sides, because that makes it a loop, which should theoretically make sloshing less bad. So let's run all the way over to here and get that one connected up as well. So that is that. And it's just hard to tell exactly what's going on. It's hard to say for certain, but all of these guys suddenly are looking correct. So yeah, I think that fixed it, at least in the short term. It's impossible to say what's happening in the long term, but those all look filled. It might not even have been that. It might have been the earlier fixes up top which did the trick. And it just took them a while to filter through. It's hard to say, but either way it works now, and that's the important part. So now we just see all of these have full supplies of everything that they could ever need. So now let's take away some of that stuff. The solids only, of course. And this prevents buffering on the belts, which is important for everything to look good. Okay, that one has not many motors. Yeah, these ones were running a lot better, so their motor supply was a lot more heavily used. I don't know why the heat sinks are so high, though. I wonder if we have, like, an unrelated motor problem. That's possible. Although I would have thought I would have noticed it by now. Who knows, though. If it's smaller, it might escape notice temporarily. Okay, these ones have their 50 motors. So we're just clearing all this stuff out, and this will cause cooling system shortages down the line. Only temporarily, though. They'll even out pretty quickly. And then we should be all stable. Okay, so that's all set up. And what else is there? So the motors are doing their thing. The heat sinks are doing their thing. Now neither of those should be buffered much. And this copper wire is buffering. And the computers are probably too. I could have sworn I'd already cleared computers out of these. Oh, so there's actually a battery shortage here. Okay, that's fun. Let's follow the batteries back and see what's wrong with them. Just trying to clear all these issues out so that we can have a nice, stable factory here. So we fly up to the batteries, and you aren't getting enough copper wire, it seems. Okay, so how much copper wire are the batteries supposed to get? They're supposed to get 66.676 times 2, which is 133.352. So here is this. I wonder, are these not upgraded to Mark II belts? Is that just a problem? Yes, that is just a problem. Easy fix. We just have to get that upgraded all the way up through a couple stages of this. And I believe it's those ones. No. Well, at least one of those was wrong. It's that one and that one. Okay. So that should provide us our wire supplies now. So let's then try to give these just a little bit of extra slack on the belts. There we go. So now this should be running smoothly. And it might take it a little bit to fully stabilize. But that should be in the clear now. Yeah, wire supply now well more than needed. So let's clear out some of these other things which we have too much stockpiled. Although the sulfur will eventually stockpile again because of how it's designed, but it won't hurt anything by doing so. Okay, so battery production is fixed. And unfortunately, that is just going to take a while to propagate down, but it is fixed, so we won't need to solve that exact problem again. Now this copper here, this copper and aluminum is very, very heavily buffered on both inputs. I wonder why that is. The aluminum ingots might be because it's not precise, but the copper ingots definitely should be. So let's just clear all of these guys out and try to get them stable. So the advantage of doing this is that if there's any problems with it, it'll show up faster, which will make things easier to detect. I really wish I could, like, take all but one or something, just take enough so that the current cycle is still running. But that sadly is not an option that I'm aware of. So we run down here, take all these guys out, and hopefully that will get the copper supply to flow better. There we go. And maybe the aluminum too, although I think the aluminum is probably set at like 30 a minute per machine or something like that. Because it's coming off of a train, so it doesn't need to be as precise, so I didn't make it as precise. Which is a little bit annoying, but not the end of the world, ultimately, obviously. It doesn't really make a difference. Alright, so all this stuff gets cleared out. Gosh, there sure are a lot of machines in this row. We're almost done, though. So here we go, just the last couple. And this row will be all clear. There we go. So this row is all cleared out, and the all-clad sheet supply is now hopefully at a more stable level, although if we run back to the front, we'll probably see some of these guys have already started building up just from what was physically on the belt. Yeah, but at least the copper ingot supply is no longer doing weird stuff. Okay, so now we just sort of do a bit of an overwatch, just scan around looking for yellows, which is harder than you might expect because some things are blue and some things are green, and the green looks a whole lot like yellow when it's next to some blue, but it isn't. Okay, and there's also the possibility of something being, 95% solid, and I just happen to not see the 5% of the time where it's yellow. Alright, so this is all good. Obviously, some of these problems down here are just going to be trickle downs from disruptions that I've caused further up. Okay, but this is 80% on supercomputers still. So how is that? That's very suspicious. It is a big gap. It might just be the cooling systems haven't had time to get through yet. Alright, so these guys are still very low on cooling systems. Now, if we hop over here, we're seeing 100% on those ones. And just scanning through, all of these look fine. So unless I've done the math wrong and entirely made the wrong number of cooling systems, this should get there eventually. Okay, and what we should do is we should limit the supply of radio control units, because that is getting to be a massive buffer. So yeah, let's do that actually. Just take some of these out of each, and that will slow this line down a whole lot. But it will make things look a lot nicer, and it should even give the cooling systems some time to catch up so that they're no longer the problem. So that they have a little bit of a buffer so that they can get to 100%. Alright, just a couple more of those, and that's good. Alright, so the last 2 times that I've checked that supercomputer problem, I've done fixes over here. But there is the other source of supercomputers, which could also conceivably be broken. So that's these guys. And these are the ones which were battery limited. We haven't had enough time. We've not had enough time for the improved batteries to make it down here yet, I don't think. So let's just yoink out the wire and the computers to prevent those from being massively overbuffered. And then call that good there. Alright. See a whole bunch of greens over this way. The rubber is oversaturated, which it's just gonna be because it's rubber. And we head over here. This one looks good as well. Nothing looks suspicious that I can see. So it's just that battery supply taking quite a while to get down. And I guess I should just go and do a secondary check to make sure that the battery supply is actually working. Because it might still be broken. There's always the possibility that the thing you think is going to fix it doesn't actually. No, these are showing 100% and they look quite comfy on everything. So that should be all clear. And there's not going to be any belt speed problems. So yeah, it is just a matter of like how long exactly is it going to take before those improved battery supplies make it all the way over to here, which shouldn't be too long. They've had a decent chunk of time already. Yeah, so these are now at plenty of batteries. And hopefully the wire isn't a shortage either. No, the wire looks good too. Yeah, the wire was buffering just a little bit ago, and I cleared it out, so the wire shouldn't be a shortage there. Alright, over to here. Are these ones doing fine again? Yeah, they're climbing up to 98% and should be going past that to 100% pretty shortly. So, of course, the increased supply of supercomputers hasn't quite made it down yet, although we are up to 90-ish% there. So that's all good. And how is this going? Oh, we've got tons. Okay, so while we wait for some of that stuff to propagate through and more problems to materialize, let's respawn, go back to the hub, and I guess yoink some of those into our inventory. We can do hub unlocks now. So, Blueprint Designer Mark III. You get some of those, you get some of those. We need fused modular frames, apparently, and a whole bunch of them. And we need fixite trigons and a decent chunk of those. Alright, so now we just need to wait for more fused modular frames before we can do that and unlock our Blueprint Designer. So that shouldn't be terribly difficult. Although I apparently didn't click on that enough times. So we should have a big backlog of fused modular frames. Yeah, and sure enough, it's loading pretty fast. So we just throw those in. We need another 140 of them. And then we'll be good to go to get Fixit Blueprints Mark III, which I think we'll be able to fit the encoder in if we do that, although I'm not sure. It might be just barely too big. Alright, so this fills up. Almost there. Just have to get up to that 140 mark. There we go. And launched. Get to talk to Ada for the first time in a while.
The Blueprint Designer Mark III allows for 20% increased blueprint size in all dimensions for an overall 71.2% increase in volume.
Very cool.
Sadly, I doubt we will see equivalent increases in your efficiency.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. My efficiency is doing the best that it can. Okay, so with that, there is one singular research left, and it requires superposition oscillators and a whole bunch of SAM fluctuators. And this gives us singularity cells and ballistic warp drives, which will allow us to do Fixonium power and beat the game. And obviously we're going to have a whole bunch of other stuff to do before then. But yeah, so superposition oscillators, those are our next target. So let's look what those have to offer. Okay, these are enormously simple compared to neural quantum processors, right? So there's no supercomputers or anything. We need to do some dark matter crystal looping, and I don't know exactly how, like, let's see, 125 of this is, I don't know, like, how much we're going to be able to loop and how much we're going to need to import, but we have a decent chunk to import, at least. Then the crystal oscillators should be easy. All clad sheets shouldn't be a huge deal, although, oh, it is a lot of them. That is a lot of them, and that excited photonic matter is free. So yeah, 50 crystal oscillators, 450 all-clad sheets. But superposition oscillators should be nowhere near the task of neural quantum processors. And now we need to figure out if we need any more of them. Oh, that actually kind of sucks. They're probably used for the singularity cells or something. Hopefully nothing too crazy. But we're going to need at least 40 per minute for the AI expansion servers, which this would be making, we'd be making 50 of these a minute anyways, so that's not a concern. Are there any hard drives available that I haven't scanned? No. got all of those. And we have 4 hard drives, and are any of these any good? Compact as steel is junk. Flexible framework and steel canister are both junk. Tempered copper theoretically could come up, but probably won't. Molded beam and leached iron, both, again, technically could come up, but probably not. Fine concrete and biocoal, again, fine concrete's technically possible, but unlikely. And then charcoal and fine black powder, these are both junk. So yeah, I guess we just save our remaining hard drives. No need to select any of those, aside from just having them selected. But yeah, no need to select any of those right now. Okay, now we need to get back to the neural quantum processor factory to see if any new problems have materialized now that I've given it 5 minutes. So it's always possible that, you know, the nitrogen supply can only barely not keep up, and like 10 hours from now will run out or something, or any number of other weird issues. But for now, we're just back here, and we're going to drop all the way back to the bottom, because the final output is the best way to see if there's anything wrong. Okay, supercomputers still showing 98%. I don't know if that's... Okay, that's probably just these recovering. So I guess we can check, but I think that it's just the calculation. The window that it's calculating is just too long that it remembers a gap. So these are up to 100. And our other supply of supercomputers is over here. And these are also at 100. Alright, I mean, if there's no further problems here, I guess that's that. Is the fixed-site trigons... Are those still not working properly? So this is still very much overfilling, which I don't know why it's doing that. I might have set up their speed limiter wrong. So let's get up to here and investigate that. So these guys are here. Alright, so did you get set up incorrectly? It's hard to tell because I have no access to the other side of things. Although I guess I can put a throughput monitor here and it should show 600. Okay, so first we need to give this a bit of a buffer, so we're going to set that to none, and that should drain the fixed-site trigons off of the belts at a rate of 600 a minute, which should be pretty dang fast. So we're just going to leave that for as long as I can stand to leave it without worrying that I'm going to forget to fix it back. And at 600 a minute, it should be pretty quick, right? So each of those internal buffers holds 200, and there are 8 of them, so that's 1600. So theoretically, just 8 minutes of waiting would drain that entirely. So, and we don't need to drain it entirely, we just need to drain it enough that we know there aren't any issues. Alright, so this is going down. It's annoying that I cannot see what's happening, but I think it should be fine. So now we set you back to running, and we'll see if this should spike up at 600 a minute. Yes, so this is showing stable at 600 a minute. So let's pop down and then clear out the rest of those internal buffers, I guess, because we definitely didn't do enough to get them completely. They're in the 140s. That's probably fine. And yeah, these are now showing 99%. Last I checked, it was 98%, which means that these are scaling up. And yes, now we've hit 100%. Alright, well, we've hit 100%. The time crystal supply might have issues because that's at a distant factory that I haven't checked in a long time. But it looks fine, at least for now. And all the rest of this stuff, the fixite trigons, again, technically could be a possibility that there's a supply problem because that's at a different factory. But I don't see any issues, right? I'm scanning around. Everything looks either green or blue. I don't see any yellow at all, which means I think that this factory is done. Yeah, alright. So I think we are going to end it here for today. It's obviously a little bit early, but this is a bit of a crucial break point where I need to just fiddle with calculators and stuff to get the plans for the superposition oscillator factory, and that's going to be boring and difficult to show on stream, so we're just going to leave it off here, do that planning over the weekend, and then come back next time. So yeah, we're gonna wrap up the stream now. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Had a lot of fun. This neural quantum processor factory has been a big task, but we finally got there, and boy is it satisfying. So I'll be streaming Factorio tomorrow, so if you're interested in that, make sure to stop by then. We are trying to grind up some legendary quality everything, basically. So that's exciting in that game. And then in this game on Tuesday, we'll be back where we are starting superposition oscillators, I guess. So yeah, that'll be that. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Make sure to follow if you haven't already. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, and following just helps you remember that I'm live and see what I'm doing. So if you're interested in that, then make sure to stop by next time. And if you've already followed, thanks, that's pretty cool. And that's about it. I will see you guys next time. Bye.